Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 of the build. Now, I can't be in here all the time videoing, so there's some bits that we might miss along the way, and one of those bits is you saw the rear differential, the nose cone being taken off in episode 2. That has now been fitted, it's down here, waiting for a new nose cone, and we're moving on to the front differential. One of the problems that we have is that we're not getting all the parts in quite the order that we need them. So if our footage looks like we're flitting from one thing to the other, that is actually what we're doing, because we're waiting for parts to come, second-hand parts, new parts, all sorts of parts. That's part of the reason why we didn't really intend to do the build here, but we are doing the build here, so we're making the best of it. Anyway, on with week 3. Now on to the front differential, getting a bit of a clean up. No nose cone to take out of this one, it's already the right one. This is the gasket for the front diff from Eurospare. Now there were 2 in this packet. Obviously we've already used one on the rear diff. Just making sure first of all that that's the right way round.
Yep.
And then using a bit of this silicone just to make sure that this all seals, putting some at the bottom because this is where they normally leak. I know it's a sort of a Land Rover thing to have an oil leak, but we'd prefer if we didn't get one. An interesting thing about this is that these are UNF nuts, not metric. I also just wanted to check you in with the countdown board at the beginning of week 3. 180 days to Santana, which means 430 to Dakar Classic. But we've added a new countdown here because Purdy's got to go back to the UK to have various things done. The main thing is the roll cage fitted at Safety Devices. We've also got to get an exhaust made at Demand Engineering, probably fit a supplementary fuel tank. I'll explain about that later. But 94 days is how long we've got to the end of January to get Purdy back to the UK, so we best get on. We need to move the chassis over a bit because one of the next things that's going to happen is we need to get the engine in here, and as it is at the moment there's not enough room to get the engine down this side, so we've got to move the whole thing that way a little bit. While I've been just dealing with some emails, Chris has given the engine a clean.
Not come up too bad.
No, it's come up all right, hasn't it?
No horrible oil leaks.
Obviously all of the air intakes are sealed over. This is Lily, she's helping. Different cat for you today. And so you said you looked at the oil in it as well?
Yeah, the oil's in pretty good nick actually.
Good. So we're looking at this seat box. This is a salvage seat box. It's not from the original Purdy. We think it's from a V8. And the reason that we think that is because the tunnel shape is a little bit wrong. But you see this red line round here? That's where the line for the tunnel goes, and it doesn't match the shape on the bulkhead, on the seat box. Apart from that, how's it looking?
Yeah, very good actually. Battery box is in good nick.
We won't
Not
be
the way we're using it, but
no, we won't be putting the. So this is where the passenger seat would sit on top of. Now, obviously, we're not using normal Land Rover seats. We can't. We need to have homologated FIA bucket seats, which means that we can't put the battery here. It'll have to be resited somewhere else. But we might be able to use it for other things like storage. Not sure yet. But yeah, that's the seat box. I've just taken some time away from the build, mainly because we have to eat, which means I have to go to the shops. I need a little bit of fuel in Priscilla. One of the things that I'm finding with this is I don't get a chance to drive my car, so it's quite nice to actually get out and have a bit of a drive. A trip to the shops, which normally I hate, is actually quite welcome today. So while I've been shopping, Chris has taken the battery box out of the seat box and cleaned it up and given it a coat of paint. Now, as I said before, we're probably not going to use it as a battery box, or we're definitely not going to use it as a battery box. But whatever we are going to use it for, it's all nice and clean.
YRM do a panel that you can pop rivet on and cut this piece out and pop rivet the replacement piece on.
Okay, that sounds good. Frida's roped in this morning for engine moving duty. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think you're going to get much further than that, are you? So we're trying to bring the engine into the workspace with the eventual aim of getting it into Purdy. It's a bit tricky because the gearbox is still on the engine, so when it's on the engine crane it makes it a little bit unbalanced. So we're going to have to use some extra strapping to make that work. So the engine is now off the trailer and onto the engine crane. I actually have no idea how we're going to get this in because what's happening is these tiny little front wheels are sort of digging into the soft earth. So that's a bit of an issue. I'm sure we'll find a solution. Well, we're trying to work out how to get the engine in. Time for a cup of tea. Okay. Another shove.
Ready.
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah.
I'll lever it, put the piece of wood back under it. No, it's not. Right. Right. Put it right through onto the... Put it down.
Oh shit.
Right, we'll try moving it a bit further. Oh, for fuck's sake. Again.
Yeah. Nearly.
Same with this side now.
Do it or not?
A little bit under. And again. Steady, steady.
Press in. You want to push this time?
Yeah.
Okay, we've potentially got another chassis bolt interface problem here. Explain what's going on.
Well, it's
So
supposed
this-
to be M12. That's an M12.
Okay,
I've cleaned the paint out, but it doesn't want to go through it.
and that's for the engine mounts,
Mm.
right? So, we don't know.
A cup of tea hasn't solved the problem.
A cup of tea, well, you haven't drunk yours yet anyway.
See if Jonathan's online.
Just because,
Okay.
you know, checking in with online support.
Yeah, technical support.
Yes.
We think that what's happened in this case is that these holes are supposed to have threads in, and because the chassis has been galvanized and then powder coated, they're actually full with galv and powder coat. So in order to get the bolts through these bits which are supposed to be threaded, we need to go by a tap. So just in case you thought it was a tap that let water out, you were much mistaken. So this is going to clean this thread out from the galvanizing and the powder coat so that we can actually get that M12 bolt through. It's quite clever, really. And luckily we had a tap which came from your dad, right?
It certainly did.
These are the bits that are falling out, so you can see how jammed up it was. And why are we putting oil onto the tap?
It just helps it cut.
It's a bit of a misty start this morning. And this morning we're in the dirty end of the operation because we're waiting for lots of parts to come before we can carry on doing the work on the chassis. But there's things happening in here. So these are the front discs that came off the old axle. They've still got, no, the front hubs with the discs on that came off the old axle. Obviously we've got nice new discs. The bearings need to come out. As you can see, they're a bit manky. So get them cleaned up, ready to go on the front axle. So when we fitted the tank in episode 2, we mentioned about the fact that the pump has to go in here, and we need to cut a hatch effectively in the floor of the rear tub so that we can access it if there's a problem. So today we need to take some measurements and try and work out exactly where that hatch has got to go. So I'm drawing a little diagram. We're going to put some measurements on here to pinpoint exactly where that hatch needs to be so that we can cut it in the tub. I think that's 31 centimetres to this side of the opening. So I've now got all the measurements. Now we're looking at the tub here. This back edge basically sits on the back cross member of the chassis. So that's where we've taken our measurements from, and we've got to cut a hole in here. Now the difficulty with that is that there's cross members underneath, so we've got to work out if the hole fouls a cross member. That might determine where it goes exactly. Okay, 46 centimetres takes us to there.
Yep.
So if we do from the rib. So this is looking under the rear tub, and you see this rib here, that's going to come obviously more or less exactly where we need to cut the hole. So when we've put the measurements of where that rib is underneath onto here, it literally comes right here. So that's a real pain. So the plan now is we're going to drill a hole from underneath and see where it comes up here without touching that rib, and then we can make some decisions. So we've now got 4 holes that basically determine where this plate can go. It's not ideal because the edge of the actual opening in the tank comes further back, but we can't really cut through the ribs. So this appears to be the best that we can get this hole, the maximum size. Just looking at this from underneath, you can see the 4 holes that we've put through. That's the plate that's coming out. We have a hatch. So this is the finished hole, and Chris has just elongated it a little bit here to follow the shape of the rib underneath. Okay, earlier we saw the hubs with the old discs on, front hubs. They have now been separated, and we're now putting the new discs onto the hubs. So you've just seen a time lapse, so very, very quick, of Chris fitting these discs to these hubs. Now, these are vented discs from our partners at eurospare. Yeah, got the part number on there, just in case you're interested. Okay, we have gone for vented discs, which are an upgrade from what these axles would have had originally, because they're better performance. So when you brake and the weight, if you think you press the brake pedal and you go forward, the weight all goes to the front. So the front discs work really hard. The vented discs allow the heat to disperse quicker, so it should give you better braking performance. And obviously we've got the correct calipers to go with those discs as well. We're looking here at the back plates that go behind the front brakes. So obviously this is the old one. This is the nice shiny new one from eurospare, and another back plate with this lovely little feature of eurospare written on it. It's just a really cute thing. You'll never see it once it's on the car, but it makes me happy to see it now. So I've learnt something here. This big bolt, as well as holding on this back plate, actually has another function. When we put those big mud terrains that we took off the wheels that we just put on Purdy, when we put those mud terrains onto Delilah, we had to adjust something so that the wheels didn't foul, because obviously the tyres were bigger. And this is the actual thing that you use to adjust how far the wheels can turn without fouling. So there you go, random fact of the day. So we're in the workshop today with a visitor. This is Sue, for those of you who don't know her.
Hi.
Sue and I did the gazelles in 2021. In Priscilla, and she's come to see Purdy for the first time.
It's amazing. I can't believe that you guys are doing this. You're mad.
Well, clearly. But it's great learning curve for me as well, to actually know what's going on underneath.
And to be able to, if something goes wrong, actually know what's going on, like, because you know every single part of the car. That's amazing.
Well, I'm learning about every single part of the car.
I'm amazed that this is a plastic fuel tank, because Priscilla had that super heavy metal one, right?
Yeah, but the later, so this is a later chassis, and obviously we've got a later engine, and they're all plastic tanks.
Wow, it's brilliant, brilliant.
But
yeah,
should save a bit of weight, shouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially at the back of the car. And nice to see the GT tyres again.
Yeah, they were great, weren't they?
They really were. Brilliant tyres.
Yeah.
So they should see you well in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'm pleased that we're able to keep those because they're tried and tested. We know what we're doing with them, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, this is our countdown board.
Why is the stress level so low? You've only got 428 days until you go.
I know, but this is the bit that we really should be stressed about. 92 days until we need to take her back to the UK for the roll cage. This is the seat box. This is the bit that's wrong. So you see that red line round there? That's where that actual tunnel needs to fit.
Yes,
so it's not quite the right shape.
Yep.
It's like nearly the right shape, but not quite.
Not quite. Yep.
But we can get that panel to fix that. So,
Endless.
wow. So we've got the seat box attached to the tub.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take your weight.
No, I don't think it will either.
It's missing an ear.
It's missing an ear. Ah, right, yeah. This bit on this side. So,
Ear.
yeah, but it was broken off. So what we're going to do about that?
We're making a new ear.
Okay, we're making a new ear. So this is what we're making the ear out of. A bit of angle.
Aluminium.
Okay. Once again, improvising when we don't have the things we actually need, but that'll be fine. So today is actually Halloween, but I've just had a delivery, 2 big boxes. Feels a bit more like Christmas. Now, Ellie, the GT mascot, is here because these boxes have come courtesy of our long-term partners, GT, who make these fabulous tyres. But for this next adventure, they're helping us out in other ways as well. So let's see what's in the box. These are things probably not very exciting to you, but these are chairs. These have come from Sparco in Italy. GT have a relationship with Sparco and offered to get us a load of things that we need. Now there's actually 3 in this box. I'm just going to take one out to show you. We'll need these in the bivouac at night when we get in from Dakar. These are director's chairs. There we go. Nice and comfy. Let's see if Ellie'd like to try that out. There you go. What do you think, Ellie? She says it's good. Box 2. Lots of Sparco goodies. Now, on the rally, we have to respect FIA rules, and that means wearing fireproof gear. So, that includes right down to your socks. These are the safety harnesses that are going to go with our bucket seats. We haven't got the seats yet, but these are 6-point harnesses that are going to hold us securely in the seats, and they're an essential part of safety equipment in the event of anything untoward happening.
Steering wheel.
It is a steering wheel. This is properly exciting. Now, I know the pure Land Rover fans will say you shouldn't have a small steering wheel, but I like a little steering wheel. Priscilla's got a nice little steering wheel. This is perfect. And this is very important actually, because when you're off-roading and you want to know that your wheel is straight, an easy, very quick way to tell, we've been putting a piece of tape on the wheel before. This has actually got this line stitched in to tell you when your wheel is dead centre. I'm going to take this right out of the box. So these are our helmets. Now you may remember that back in, actually you probably haven't seen it on this video, but back in July, I think it was, we went to Demon Tweaks to try on some kit and decide what we wanted to have.
Well, you know, we're classic, aren't we?
That's much
That's
better.
much
Much
better.
better.
Yeah. And at that point we didn't know about the GT relationship with Sparco, and we picked some helmets that we thought gave the kind of classic vibe that we're after, and also matched our colour scheme. And there is a peak to go on here as well for extra sun protection. These are the helmets. How cool are they? And the thing that makes them work is this. So this, and again I'm not going to take it out completely, is the intercom system that the helmets will plug into, and that allows us to talk, but it also Bluetooths. I don't know if you can see that, it's got the little Bluetooth symbol on. So we can Bluetooth our phones into that, listen to our playlist, and if you should happen to call when we're on a liaison, we can answer it. But when we're on a stage, we can only hear each other. So that's a really, really cool piece of kit. Thank you so much to our partners at GT. Thank you, Ellie, for these goodies. Wow, what can I say? Absolutely brilliant, thank you. So this is the bracket that Chris has made to fix this side of the seat box on where it was broken. Looks good. Actually, that stuff comes off all right. I've got a few things to do indoors today, emails and such forth, which is easier just to do on the main computer because all my contacts and stuff are here. And I've got a cat helper. This is Lily. Bit of body work going on here. It's better, isn't it? Show me those things you were using. They're special bodywork tools, aren't they?
That's a dolly and that's a hammer.
So do you remember in episode 3, I think, when we took these brackets off the tub? Well, they've all been cleaned up now. Come out quite well, haven't they? Ready to go back on again and be used. So we're looking at the underside of the seat box today, which has been cleaned up. I might put some
Sound deadening.
Sound deadening, that's the badger, on some of these sections when it comes. But this is it's the battery box that you saw being cleaned up earlier. As I said before, we're not using it as a battery box, but hopefully we can make that work as a storage box. So that's just ready to be reattached. And then, yeah, what Chris is saying is we're thinking that if we have a hatch in this side to get into the contents of that box, that would be a useful storage area. Just putting the pot rivets in to hold this battery box in place. So the battery box is back in the seat box. What we need to work out is if this idea of having a hatch here actually works. I think that's something we probably can't decide until we've got the roll cage in, because the roll cage bar might actually prevent that from working.
Well, the theory is drop the chassis down with no springs in, so it's now lower. We might be able to get the engine in a bit easier. We need to take the springs out anyway.
Yeah, that looks like a good plan. Doesn't look like there's too much lifting to do there then, does it? That's a job for next week. Okay, so we're at the end of the 3rd week of our build. It's been a frustrating week this week, and not a lot of work actually going on in here because we just haven't had the bits that we need, and that's just a supply issue. They're just not coming through as we need them. So we've been able to do, as you've seen, some bits on the bodywork. Before I finish off today, I wanted to talk about this fabulous chassis that I'm sitting in. I've had quite a lot of people ask why we've used a Marsland chassis, and the answer is quite simple. The Marsland chassis is built using the original specification and the original drawings and the original methods that were used when the Land Rover chassis were built from new. So this is as close as we can get today to an original chassis. Everything is as the original Land Rover spec. I would just like to say a huge thank you to Carl and Gemma at Marsland for believing in us, for making this fantastic red chassis, which everybody agrees looks really cool. We really appreciate that. So next week we hope to have lots of deliveries and be able to really push on with the build. And I'm happy this afternoon to have Ellie, the GT mascot, with me. Are you right, Ellie? Yes, thank you. To say to you, thank you so much for watching another episode. Like and subscribe below, you know the drill. We really appreciate that. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Very good. Well, I've got the coordinates. Shall we head off to Dakar?
Yeah,
Let's go.
absolutely.
Yeah. Here we go. I'd say it's about 4,000 kilometres that way.
You reckon?